And we are live. Happy Thursday night, Sober Nation. We're here on another Thursday night again at 9 o'clock, like we do every Thursday night. This week, I have my good friend here, Kat Janice. How are you, Kat?
I'm good. How's it going?
Good, good. I'm really excited to have Kat on tonight. Kat, how long have we known each other?
I think almost 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, since I first started trying to get sober, we were like working together in a call room selling diabetic testing meters.
Dude, I know.
So Kat is she is a full-fledged artist. I mean, you have the most amazing art that I've ever seen. You're a videographer, a photographer, and you're an event planner. So, I mean, tell me a little bit about yourself and, what led you to this point.
Okay. So I'm originally from Chicago. And obviously I struggled with all different types of addictions, alcohol, drugs, and eating disorder was a big part of my story. Also mental health. And then I came down here for recovery in 2008, I think. And I didn't get it. I wasn't ready to stop. I wasn't done, quite frankly. So I did a more experimenting, more finding my bottom, I guess you could say. And then in 2013 in July was my last drink or use or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I stayed sober. I drove down here in my little beat up car and I had no idea what I was going to do, but I came down here for treatment once before, like I said, in 2008. And I went to, I had a friend who'd stayed sober and I got in touch with her, and then I just kind of got started down here, and that's when I met you, Tori, working in some janky call center. And I just started drawing. I don't know, I used to draw little drawings for people's cubicles, and that's kind of how it blossomed. It's just gotten bigger. As I've stayed sober, it's just gotten bigger and bigger each year.
Yeah, so you're like a self-taught artist, right? I mean, have you ever taken any lessons or anything?
No. Yeah, that's kind of a cool thing. I just started drawing in my cubicle. I literally have these stick figure drawings still that I started with of me killing people in my halfway house.
So did you ever do art when you were using, or attempt to do it when you were using?
No, I never was an artist before then. I wasn't really doing anything. Right. But okay. I know that's a big struggle for artists.
Yeah. Well, real quick, I'm just going to say hi to Tiffany, Debbie, Rebecca, Stephanie, Tom. He says, hi, ladies, get your creative side on. Sam says, that's awesome. You're doing that stuff. I am in the infant stages of launching a multimedia news company that will have multi-platform awareness. And then we are also planning our first event for this summer. That's so I know, Kat, we were talking before this that, you put on events and you work with a lot of local artists in the community, and a lot of artists that are newly sober, and they have trouble with being creative or feeling stuck. I mean, tell us about that, because I know for me, I used to be a singer, a songwriter, and I know for a long time I had this myth in my head that I could not sing, or I could not be fully up to my full potential without being drunk or high. So what do these type of people say to you, and how do you talk them through this?
Right. That's a good question. I get that a lot with people that are just coming in sober, and whether they were in art school, were artists, singers, musicians, etc., creatives of some sort, they feel like the drugs or the alcohol or whatever have you enhanced their art.
Right.
And I think at the end of the day, like what I tell people and what I remind people is that if you're an artist, that's in you. And as artists or creatives, until the pain gets great enough to, from not creating, will we then like create again? Because at the end of the day, I really believe art is about perseverance, you know, and working through just picking up the paintbrush or the guitar or the drum set or, you know, the camera or whatever, and just going through that uncomfortable process of doing something differently. And something someone said to me early on, when I started making art, I remember I went through this period where I didn't have a lot of money. And I was like, well, I don't have the materials to make art, or I don't have the money to do it. And she said, if you're an artist, at all costs, you'll make art. And it was that simple. And I try and keep it that simple for myself. You know, just my advice to anyone struggling with that is be open to the idea of making a new relationship with it, because it's not the drugs or alcohol that make you an artist, it's you.
Right.
You know?
Right. That's so, and Rebecca says, I was super creative when I was high. I'm now 3 years, 9 months sober, and she can't find that creative side anymore. I mean, what do you think about that? Do you know, how does, like, and I know drugs and alcohol, like, for some people, like, it really enhances that creative side. But for me, I think it's just a belief that I have within myself.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. I think,
go ahead.
I think like one thing is tapping into, whenever like I start an art project or something, I think it's just tapping into a different energy. You know, before we might have tapped into drugs or alcohol to get us that effect or that idea. And I think, like you just said, Tori, it's kind of letting go of that belief system of I need this in order to create that. And then just knowing maybe that's inside you. Like I will always do a meditation or something and, you know, just sit quietly with myself and close my eyes and just see whatever visions pop up in my head. You know, that's just how I get started, you know, or I look outside for inspiration and stuff. You know, I think that's just a belief system that's prohibiting you from creating something really awesome.
Yeah, no, I totally, completely agree with that. I'm just going to go to the comments real quick. Geraldine says, hello here. I am 14 days sober. And Geraldine has been regular for us for like months. We love you, Geraldine. Congratulations. I'm so glad you're back. She's here every week. Megan says she's not sober yet, but she really wants it. What do you have to say about that, Kat?
If you really want it, just keep showing up and keep doing it, you know?
Yeah.
Just never give up.
Christian says, look at the Red Hot Chili Peppers, look at Eric Clapton, look at Steven Tyler, all these people that are sober and artists in their own way. He says, or she says, way to go, ladies, for sharing your voice with the world. Woo-hoo.
Awesome.
So, and I know for me, when I was like doing, I don't know, when I was making music, when I got sober, a lot of the times like this inner critic would come into my head and tell me like, this sucks, like you better quit now, you're no good for anything. And I know when I was using like that, I was like, oh, this is great, you know. Do you have that? I know for a lot of people have that. How do you feel about that inner critic?
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I think a lot of what stops artists from creating art is that they believe that it's not good enough, or I can feel like it's never going to be good enough. Mm-hmm. And that's why I always say that art is about perseverance in a way. It's just kind of plunging through and keep creating. Like I read this book and there was a study done on 2 groups of artists in a class, and one group was told to make the best art piece they could, and another group was told make as many pieces as you can. And the art teacher, at the end of the day, found the best pieces in the group that made as much art as they could. And the people that made, and their goal was to make the best art piece, either didn't finish or they didn't produce the best work.
Right.
You know, so I think it's really like just a numbers game.
And it's so personal to you. I mean, personally, I think that anything is art because it comes from your within, you know, anything is like, who cares if someone says it's shit, you know? I mean, it's personal to you, and that's great. Let's see. Bud is here from Dayton, Ohio. Jeff says hello. Hello, Jeff. Chuck is here. He's here every week. Hi, Chuck. So how has, like, I guess, how has sobriety, like, affected your art? And I know that you weren't really using, or you weren't really drawing much like when you were using, but like, what kind of lessons have you taken from sobriety to the canvas?
That's a good question. I've never thought about it that much before, but I don't know. I guess like with art, I always see art as like a reflection of myself. Like it reveals where exactly I'm at. Like if I'm lazy, it shows I'm being lazy. If I'm giving it my best, it's going to show it. If I'm frustrated, it's going to show it. And like I said, I think it's just allowed me to have my own relationship with something, you know, and I don't know, just like sobriety. I mean, I don't know. I'll always go back to that. I think art teaches me to persevere and just keep going. I mean, so much of sobriety is learning how to deal with shitty emotions and keep moving forward and not pick up.
Right.
And I think that reflects the art experience so much, you know, like how many times do we start a painting or a song and we never finish because it starts not going the way we want it to. And there's some factors that are out of our control, and we just want to quit and throw in the towel and be like, you know, F this, F that, I'm not doing it. You know, that happens all the time with artists.
Right.
And that happens all the time in sobriety. You know, things aren't going our way that are out of our control. You know, the paintbrush isn't doing what I want it to do. You know, it's smear here, my drawing skills hit a wall. And that's where I think art teaches you to just continue, and so does sobriety. You know, that like don't pick up no matter what sort of deal, and don't quit no matter what.
So do you finish every like painting or drawing that you start?
Yes, I do. I make it a point to.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about like the other artists in recovery that you have met. I mean, you know, for me, like when I was like being super creative, and I still am today, but like I felt like I had like these secret competitions in my head with other artists. Like, how do you do that? Like, is that just me?
I guess I can at some points, but I really try to be in relationships with other artists. Like,
yeah.
I'm part of an art networking group that meets every Sunday, and a lot of us are in recovery. And I think I try to come from this place of building each other up, and so do my like peers and stuff. And that just creates, I mean, a ton of artists can be assholes, to be quite frankly, you know, and there's like, if you can choose to be someone who's not going to compete and look at someone as competition, but come from this place of, you know, I'm going to build this person up. I want to see them succeed. I think you by default will end up succeeding better, you know?
Right. If you just keep on doing. So what do you like to, I guess, what do you like to paint, draw? What is your like
passion?
Yeah.
It's changed a lot. I used to do I'd say in early sobriety, it was really dark and creepy.
Okay. You know what?
It was really dark and creepy.
Remember that.
You know? But it's definitely shifted. I really enjoy drawing like the female form a lot. I look to a lot of inspiration of just like culture and fashion and things around me at the time. I'm gay, so I love drawing women.
Wait, can we talk about that?
What, being gay?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so how has that affected like your sobriety, and do you think it's harder for people who are gay to get sober?
No.
Or do you think it's just because
I don't know. I can't speak for like the gay community, because for some people, some of like my friends who are in the LGBT community, like, I mean, trans people in general, like in this day and age, I think have a really hard time, because that is kind of what our generation is less open to. Just like back in the 70s or the like 80s, it was still like a really big thing to be gay, you know?
Right.
But I mean, as a lesbian, I mean, it was just freeing to come out and like really discover who I was in sobriety, you know, like just to like accept myself and go through that process was really freeing, if anything.
Right. That's amazing. How old were you
when I came out?
Yeah.
I think
were you sober when you came out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I had dated like a couple girls, but until I'd always like, when people would ask me, I'd always be like, I don't know, you know, but I knew. I just was like afraid of what people would think about me.
Do you think like being sober and, you know, finally being comfortable with sobriety, that kind of was a catalyst to help you take that final step?
Yeah, for sure. I think when I got sober, I realized like I get to I basically am starting a clean slate, and you might as well show up as yourself, you know, because I spent a lot of years in my addiction trying to be other people and mimic other people, and never really gave myself the opportunity to be me.
Yeah.
So, you know, I went through a period where I was like, you know what, like, this is who I am, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, what is your like creative process, I guess?
What's that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, people talk about their creative processes, like how they like, you know, what part of like being creative, like, are you passionate about? Is it the beginning? Is it like actually, is it the final product? What do you?
Oh, I'm in love with the whole process.
Are you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like, I think the hardest thing to do is finish a painting for sure. Finishing and starting is hard. You know, in the beginning, it's hard. It's like exciting to start it because you have this vision in your head of how you want it to be, and then you start it and you realize it's not going to be that way.
Yeah.
You're going to have to let go of that and let it just kind of flow. And then finishing it is the hardest, because that's like the perfectionism we were talking about. But once it's done, and I'm like, I feel so accomplished afterwards.
That's, I love that. Bud says it should be no different, gay or straight. It's still a tough disease to fight. But I absolutely 100% agree with you. I just think too that for people that are gay or homosexual, there is another component of stigma. Do you think that's true, Kat?
Yeah. I don't know. I know for me, it was like, I think at the end of the day, like, everyone, and this is just my belief, is like everyone has their outside issue.
Right.
You know, I think in this day and age, being a lesbian isn't as hard as being like a trans per se, you know, like I think that's like a really like call to arms, is like being like people being more open to that, you know, part of like the LGBT community. Like I could see it being a lot harder for them to like, you know, struggle with that. But I mean, I think everyone in sobriety comes with their shit, and you know, has to work through that.
Right. Like I mean, you said you had an eating disorder, all this type of different things, like, but you're in recovery. It's been like 6 years. You've gotten through all this stuff, and like you're doing what you love to do.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
and
a blessing.
Right. And it's no difference whether, you know, you're gay or you're trans, it's still the same disease, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like jumping on two different subjects here, but wait, and I'm like about to jump onto another subject. Can we see that? Can I see that painting behind you?
Yeah.
Okay, what is it? Oh, sure. Oh
Which
my,
one?
well, either one. I don't
I don't know. Both of them are some girls I painted over summer. I don't know if you can see them.
care. Okay.
Can you see those?
A little bit, a little bit. I
A
see
little
her.
bit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not good with the video camera.
That's okay. That's okay. So what would you say to someone that is like getting sober and wants to be creative and wants to like start this new journey, or either, and I'm just going to add the whole ball of wax here, is struggling with coming out, or, you know, you can answer these in two different answers.
I would say for the creative part, whether you're gay, straight, whatever, just start doing it. You know, like art is an outlet and a way of communicating all of that stuff. You know, like I know that's why I started art. It wasn't to make money. It wasn't to be good. It was just a way to express my feelings. You know, like that at the end of the day, I think under all the different layers of what art can be is what art is for the artist, you know? So just start doing it. It doesn't, and try not to judge yourself on whether or not it's good or not, but just remember it's a way of communicating. And if you want to nurture that language, I would say, you know, because that's what art is. It's a way of communicating in a language, you know, just keep at it, you know, just keep doing it.
Right. No, I definitely agree with you. And how has like art impacted your sobriety? You know, I know we talked about like your sobriety impacting your art, but what about your art? Has that, and I know like we talked about too, when you got sober, like your art was very dark, so that kind of showed like what place you were at maybe.
Mm-hmm.
How has your art affected your sobriety, or like what kind of place are you at now, I guess?
How it's affected my sobriety is it's kind of been my confidant. I don't know, you know, like the way they talk about how alcohol was your best friend.
Right.
Art has kind of become my new best friend in a way, because I think a lot of artists have a hard time, and a lot of addicts have a hard time expressing how we feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's always been there. It's always been, it's gotten me through breakups. It's gotten me through, you know, lost jobs, money being there, money not being there. It's gotten me through everything. So, you know, just being able to communicate that has affected my sobriety positively, immensely.
Right. That's awesome. I love that for you. So what's next for you, and like where can we find you? And I know you're doing an event, so like tell us about that, because I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, so I've organized a few events before. They're like art walk style events.
Okay.
And I'm throwing one May 18th at the Boynton Beach Art District in Florida.
Okay.
I get a ton of different artists from emerging to professional. And I don't know, I love bringing people together. I love seeing artists, especially emerging artists in recovery, get the opportunity to showcase their work. So that's where I'll be in May.
When is it? May
18th.
18th.
Yes, it's going to be a block party style.
Art District. So where can like someone find your art though, like your stuff?
So I'm on Instagram at Kat with a K, Kat Janice Art.
Okay, and I'll put it in like the comments too when we're done.
And I'm also, my like little tag name is Katsnaxxx with 3 X's. So my website is katsnaxx.com.
Okay.
And that's where you can see my artwork.
Okay, so go follow Kat because she's amazing. She's a self-taught artist. She's sober. She's amazing, and I love everything that she does, and I'm so glad you were able to join us tonight, Kat. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me, Troy, and thanks everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, and you guys, we will see you next week. We'll have another guest on, and if you are struggling at all, you can go ahead and send us a message on our Facebook page. You can always email me, Tori@sobernation.com, if you want to write for Sober Nation. If you're struggling, you need help, you want to submit your sober story, we always love those. Everybody else loves those too. Again, we will see you next week, 9 o'clock p.m., and have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.